Chiefs Kingdom, we're talking top 30 visits so far. Plus, we're going to dive into some prospect rankings. Let's go. Welcome back to All Chiefed Up, back with another vertical podcast for that ass. It's just me today, not Steve. Shout out Prize Picks for sponsoring this episode. If you haven't already, get down there, download the app, use code HMA on sign up, get yourself a little bonus. And we'll talk about more from Prize Picks in just a minute. But let's go ahead and talk about the Chiefs a little bit. We're about 1 week away. Let's just say 1 week away. We're about 1 week away from the NFL draft. This is what we've all been waiting for. We've been waiting for this since Thanksgiving, when the Chiefs crapped the bed versus Dallas. Ruined our Thanksgiving, ruined our turkey, ruined our stuffing, ruined everything. Pumpkin pie, thrown out the window. Didn't even want it, flushed it down the toilet. Don't care. The Chiefs ruined everything that day. Then we had to watch them tank throughout the rest of the season. Then we watched the greatest quarterback of all time get injured. That sucked. It was just testicle punch after testicle punch over and over and over again. And so we've been talking about the draft all the way since December. Okay, since December. I'm tired of it. I'm ready for the draft to just hurry up and get here. Believe me, I know you're tired of it. If I'm tired of it, you're tired of it. But we got one more week. We got to bear down. We got to hunker down. We got to get into this. We got to make sure we know anything, everything, where the Chiefs' heads are at, what they're thinking, who are they looking at, everything like that. And so we're just going to dive into all that really quickly today. What's up, Steve? How you doing, brother? Steve Ledbetter in the house. Heike Mo, what's up, brother? Greg Goodwin, good to see you. Jacqueline Smith, how are you? Shahariat Houchins, hello from Anchorage, Alaska. Hello, Shahariat. I wish I was in Anchorage, Alaska right now. It is hot down here in Kentucky today. We haven't even got to summer yet. It got so hot yesterday. Pills in a pill bottle were melting. Like, that is crazy. Jacqueline says hello from Texas. Hey, Jacqueline. Kenyon Sadiq or Tate says Heike Mo. Oh, man. Jonathan says, I was at the game when Mahomes got hurt. Absolute worst day ever. Yeah. I could feel that one. Well, I appreciate you guys being here. Hit that like button for me. Get this out to more people. It's going to take a little while for them to roll in. Look, Chiefs fans went to sleep. I don't blame them. We've been doing this all the way since, like I said, November, December. Everyone's tired of talking about just projections. Everyone's talking about mock drafts. Everyone's tired of it. I understand it. I fully get it. It is exhausting. Everybody and their grandma has a draft simulator telling you that they've got the best draft ever. Look, it doesn't matter what Brett Veach does. There's going to be half the people love him and half the people's going to hate him. I think what we want to do is get you prepared for a little bit of what could happen. And so where do we like to start with that? We're always big, firm believers of you got to go back and you got to look at, first and foremost, who the Chiefs meet. Now, they're going to meet a lot of players throughout the draft process. That's all there is to it. They're going to meet tons and tons and tons of players. They're going to meet players at the Senior Bowl. They're going to meet players at the Shrine Bowl. They're going to do pro days. They're going to be all the way back at the Hula Bowl. They're going to be at the American Bowl. You name it, they're going to be there. It's just the way it's going to be. That they're just going to go. They're going to send scouts. You have to. You got to be prepared. You got to go all the way down the board. Every All-Star game, everything they can get their hands on, they've got to do it. So far, who do we know the Chiefs have top to? And I want to divide this up into first-round talent that the Chiefs have spoken to so you can kind of get an idea of picks 9 and pick 29. And then we'll kind of look at second, third, day 2 round talent they've spoken to, and then day 3 talent they've spoken to. So first and foremost, we all know the Chiefs have to do their due diligence at pass rusher. Now, the way we've got this is we've had 14 confirmed meetings. Could be 13, to be honest, because one of them we have on the board is just a virtual. I'm sure the Chiefs have taken all top 30 visits. I think they have to cut them off today. I'm pretty sure. So they will have had to have all top 30 visits done and completed by today. So there's 15 roughly more visits that nobody knows about. They've kept them under lock and key for whatever reasons, whether it's blowing smoke, whether they're just trying to do whatever. Certain ones have been released. I'll take a shot at who I think the other 15 are, and if it ever comes out, we'll go back to this and we'll compare it. But for right now, we know they've at least seen 14 people, and 12 of them has been confirmed as a top 30. So first and foremost, at pick number 9, the only players they've actually met with 3, 4, 5, I would say 6 players they've met with that could possibly be a number 9 pick in this draft. And then not a confirmed top 30, but there has been meetings. I'm not for sure if it's a top 30. I happen to believe it is. But there's one more guy that they've not officially said was a top 30, but I believe it is. So we'll get to them in just a minute. So number 1 is pass rush. Ruben Bain, they've met with. Arvell Reese, they've met with. David Bailey, they've met with. Presumably, this is all for number 9 or the possibility of trading up in the draft, be it to the Giants at 5, Arizona at 3, maybe it's Borgonzi and the Titans at 4. Maybe they want to go to Cleveland at 6. Maybe the Commanders at 7. You just want to jump the Saints at 8. You never know what they're going to do, but these are the guys they've had to do. We all know that Ruben Bain is the prototypical guy. Like, we just know, and we also know that he's got some arm deficiencies. I guess we can call it that. Only 30 and 7/8 inch arms. Now, look, is that horrible? It's not good. It's not good. You know, it's really not good. He's about 2 full inches. I'll say he's about 1.5 inches shorter of Arvell Reese. I'll say he's a good 2.5 inches shorter of David Bailey. Now, what's 2.5 inches? Obviously, it's about, the length of your thumb. I don't know if at the end of the day, the length of your thumb is enough to just completely write off a player with the production and the game-wrecking ability of Ruben Bain. I think that could be crazy. But it could happen. It could happen. So, what's up, Ikov? How you doing, brother? What's up, Cole? How you doing? Jacqueline, sent you guys an email about Eli Stowers. I'll check it out. Thanks. I've been running crazy today, so I'll get to that, and I'll get back to you. So far at 9, and presumably a trade up, you're looking at Bain, Reese, Bailey. Again, I'm coming around to the possibility of David Bailey because I do think he's got the capability to set the edge. Now, the thing about David Bailey is, let's talk about who some comps I have for some of these guys, because you may agree with it, you may not. Ruben Bain, I see Ruben Bain of being sort of like a Brandon Graham type of guy, maybe, that played for the Eagles there for a long time. He wasn't the biggest. 6'2". Let me go see what he did at the combine. Let's see what his combine measurements were, and we'll compare that over to what we had from Ruben Bain, who Ruben Bain's not really worked out or anything to this point. He didn't do much at his pro day. All we know is that he's got 30 and 7/8 inch arms and a 77.5 inch wingspan. Brandon Graham had 32 and 1/4 inch arms. So he had about 1 more inch on the arm length. But he plays kind of similar, right? He's a short guy. He's thick built, really good athleticism. He's got good initial quickness. He doesn't have the elite speed or maybe, to chase down guys in pursuit. He's not that, but he's a disruptor. He plays with a high motor. He's just a good football player that I think will be productive at the next level. He's got a little bit of height deficiency, all that kind of stuff, but that's what I see from Ruben Bain. And so that's why I'll say Ruben Bain for that one. I'm sold on Ruben Bain. I don't think that Ruben Bain is a bad pick for the Chiefs. I think if they traded up for him, I would be completely fine with it as well. I don't think there's nothing wrong with him there. If we move on to David Bailey, again, I like David Bailey. I'm coming around to the prospect. He's more in the line of, say, like, if you remember coming out of Kentucky a few years ago, he's more like a Josh Paschal. He's more of like a Sam Williams that come out, and played for Dallas a few years ago. Now, he's not as Sam Williams isn't explosive. I think David Bailey's more explosive than both of those two. Maybe a poor man's Jalen Phillips. Aboye Mafe. Okay. And so we know the Chiefs have tried to track down Boye Mafe. They tried to trade for him last year in season. We thought they were going to look at him in the offseason. They didn't do it, or maybe they tried and the money just wasn't right. But we do know they've been looking at a Boye Mafe type player. And so David Bailey is on the radar for me. So I believe Bain, then Bailey, and then I believe Reese is the third guy that they want to see. I just can't put Reese on this team. He's more of an outside linebacker. He would play more of a glorified Leo Chanel role with the Chiefs, in my opinion. I believe like if Leo Chanel would have rushed the passer a lot more, you might get that from Arvell Reese. But I believe they're going to literally have him stand up. He would spy. He would use his speed. He runs a 4.5 40, 1.62, 10. And honestly, or actually a 1.58 and a 4.46. I'm sorry, I was looking at the wrong ones. So with a 4.46 and a 1.58 10-yard split, he would be, he could be that QB spy type thing. I just don't want to draft a QB spy outside linebacker at number 9. I just think it's too rich. Some other guys they've looked at right there at number 9. Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon, 2 other wide receivers they've looked at right there. They brought in Tate, they brought in Lemon. Look, a lot of people are polarized on that one. Who does Chiefs Kingdom like? Do they like Tate? Do they like Lemon? Seems like you can't find anybody that likes both. They want to pick or choose whichever one they want. I see it in the chat. A lot of people are liking Jordan Tyson. The Chiefs did not do a projected top 30 with Jordan Tyson. He is one guy, though, I believe when it's all said and done, you will find out that I do believe they probably did take a top 30 with Jordan Tyson. That's one of the guys I believe they've probably taken a top 30 with. It's not been publicized. I just don't know why you wouldn't. He's the best wide receiver in the draft. If you take out all the injuries, things like that, they wanted to get the medicals. They wanted to look at him, examine him with their own eyes, see where he's at in his recovery process. I think he's a good pick. He's starting to pick up more steam now with Chiefs Kingdom because at first everybody said no. But then over the past few days, Seth Kaiser's done a write-up on him. People are mocking him over. There's a lot more people talking about him. I think Peter Schrager, ESPN, put out some today. There's a lot more people talking about him, a lot more guys within the Chiefs Kingdom space, such as the Seth Kaisers of the world. They're all starting to come around and soften their view on him a little bit. And now that's making all the people that read all their stuff and watch all their stuff, now they're starting to come around. They're starting to like him all of a sudden. And they're starting to come around to the idea of Jordan Tyson. And it's pretty easy to influence Chiefs Kingdom. I mean, I'll say this. There's a few people that can just put out anything in the world. And within a week, it's like, it could be written down in the 10 Commandments. Like that's the way they're easily influenced by a few people. And others, there'll be some really smart people inside this space and they'll say things and it just goes on one ear and out the other. And then when it actually happens, they don't even give them credit for it. And it's funny. But anyway, it would be Tate and Lemon. That would be the 2 wide receivers. The 2 offensive linemen they've met with to this point, Caden Proctor from Alabama, they've taken a top 30 with. And just today, it's been rumored that the Chiefs have had a very, very, very big interest in tackle from Georgia, Monroe Freeling. I think he's been brought in on a top 30 as well. I do. I think he's been brought in on a top 30. So you do what you do. I think Monroe Freeling is a possibility at number 9. Now, Monroe Freeling he's climbing draft boards. I don't think he's getting to the late 20s. I don't. 29 feels crazy. In my board, I would think Caden Proctor could get to 29, but he's been rumored to go at number 6. So it is what it is. He could go anywhere. These guys could go anywhere. I can see the Chiefs actually trading up from 29 to snag either one of these guys if they were to get past pick 20. So I don't rule those out. So I do think Freeling probably had a top 30 at some point. Caden Proctor. If the Chiefs took Caden Proctor at number 9, I would literally cry. I just really do. I think I would. I don't think I would like that at all. Chief Kyler T98. We're getting toxic. We're not getting toxic. We're just kind of telling the truth. The truth hurts sometimes. So, yeah, I would say at number 9, we've looked at Bain, Reese, Bailey, Tate, Lemon, Proctor, Freeling. Those are all guys I can see the Chiefs taking a shot at number 9. I would be and look, I'm going to go ahead and throw Jordan Tyson in there as well. I think Jordan Tyson's taking the top 30. I would be hard-pressed to think that Jordan Love, or Jeremiah Love, rather, has not taken a top 30. I would honestly think that maybe Sonny Styles and McCoy, Delane, probably Kenyon Sadiq. All those guys are probably taking a top 30. I would think they've all taken a top 30 at this point. Now, has it been publicized? I don't know. I'm not going to say it for sure. But I would think you have to do it. Number 9, you've got to do your due diligence on almost all the top 10, in my opinion. And maybe even all the top 15 in case you want to trade down a little bit, or in case one of those guys slipped to 20, you feel comfortable coming up. So the way I see it, I don't think if I were the Chiefs, I would want to reach on Caden Proctor there. I think that's wild, but they could. That's their prerogative. So for me, the way I would want to do it is I think Bain would be my first selection. Let's just say they sit at 9 and all these people were to fall to him. Probably not likely. But Bain would be my first choice. Bailey would be my second choice out of all of those guys we just said. My third choice would be Mekhi Lemon, and I'm going to edge him out just above Carnell Tate because I think that Lemon would have a better shot of playing early with Andy Reid and this offense this year than Carnell Tate. Carnell Tate feels like a guy to me who's got all the intangibles in the world, but the way Andy uses X wide receivers, the way Mahomes doesn't throw up a lot of, back shoulder one-on-one fades, he tried to do that a little bit last year, if you remember in the preseason. He tried to do that a few times. They didn't really use like Justin Ross that way, and that was kind of his game to a certain degree. They just don't like to do it. So I just feel like Tate would find a tough time. Not to mention they did re-sign Thornton, and Thornton's basically the same size. He's a deep threat. I'm not saying Thornton's a better player or prospect than Carnell Tate at the end of the day, but he has produced with the Chiefs. We did give him a 3-year deal. They should use him more this year, but then you've seen how they didn't even use him last year. So I think Tate could get lost in the sauce if we draft him. That could be a guy we draft and look back and be like, why in the world didn't they play him at all hardly? Dude, I could get that vibe with Carnell Tate, but I do like Tate. So I would say right now, Bain Bailey. I'll say Lemon 3, Tate 4. For me, I'd go Monroe Freeling at 5. I know that sounds crazy, but I think I would take Monroe Freeling. I would definitely take him above Proctor. I'd probably take him above Arvell Reese. I just think Reese couldn't find his way to the field. Then I would take Reese. Then I'd go back and take Proctor. That would be the way I would line those up at number 9. Now, if you're looking at number 29, according to who the Chiefs have taken in the top 30, 29, I still think you got to include Caden Proctor and Monroe Freeling, because if those two were to slide to, say, 15 to 20, the Chiefs feasibly could slide up and grab them. So I'm going to include them into that just because of the slide up. If you take the slide up out, they have looked at Chris Johnson corner. Chris Johnson, if you've been watching the show, if you've listened to anything we say, if you believe anything we say, if you trust anything we've heard, if you value anything we say, we are hearing that Chris Johnson is very, very, very liked by NFL scouts and NFL GMs. There is a lot of scouts and GMs telling people to put him higher on their draft boards, that a lot of teams, specifically teams at the end of the first round, are very much loving Chris Johnson. Very high IQ with Chris Johnson. Okay? He run a 4.4, so not the most blazing guy ever, but he's got a decent recovery speed. A 1.54 10-yard split. Not too shabby right there on that. Okay? There's a lot of things Chris Johnson does well. He's a fluid athlete. He's got good body control. He changes direction well. He's got tons of special teams experience. He's even done a little bit of punt returning, kickoff returning. So he's got every bit of this. He's only got a 5% career tackle rate, or missed tackle rate. He can get handsy. I'm not going to say this. He needs to probably get more handsy. I'll put that. I think in press coverage, he could actually get more handsy. So that's what I'm going to say. I'm just going to leave it at that. I think he could get more handsy. That could be the reason Spags don't love him so much, but I think they really like Chris Johnson. I think a lot of teams do. I think that 29, if you get Chris Johnson at 29, you stole him, because I think that it's possible he could go as high as 22, 23 in that range. Again, you don't got to believe what we say. You don't got to take it with a grain of salt like you should everybody. But I'm not hearing a lot of people say this. I think it's true. I think Chris Johnson's going in the first round. He could surprise a lot of people and go a little higher than we think. The only reason he may not, there could start being a crazy tackle on defensive ends or a crazy run on defensive ends and offensive tackle. There could be some monumental runs on those. That could actually cause guys like Denzel Boston to fall out of the first round. KC Concepcion, I think that he should be a first-round pick, but he could fall out if there's any runs on offensive tackle or defensive end, because those two kind of fall off a cliff very quickly. Those guys could slip. And so if Chris Johnson does slip, in my opinion, it's because you're going to have a lot of defensive ends, a lot of offensive tackles taken a little bit earlier than consensus thought. So another player I'll put at 29 for the Chiefs. So right now we're at Proctor, Freeling, Johnson. I'll go ahead and I'll throw in, and look, I don't think he's going to be a first-round pick. A lot of people might. I think this is the kind of guy that could get you fired if he doesn't pan out. He's got a lot of good measurables, but I just don't think he's worth a first-round pick. I've got him graded around pick 40-ish to 45. I'm going to say Caleb Banks from Florida, defensive tackle. Steve will fight me on this all day. He is a huge Caleb Banks guy. Look, in 2 years, me and Steve will be able to look back on Caleb Banks and be like, look, Mike was wrong at the end of this, and Steve was right. You know, he turned out to be a really good player. Or we're going to look back and be like, Steve was wrong and Mike was right. He was not worth that pick. He's a direct player that me and Steve kind of clash heads on. There's a few in this draft class that we clash heads on. In the past few years, there's not been a lot. We've kind of been on the same. Caleb Banks is a player we've clashed on just a little bit throughout this draft process if you've been watching us. It's easy to see. He's been big on Caleb Banks. I thought Caleb Banks at one point was maybe worth 29. Now I don't think. I would be really irritated if we picked him anywhere before 40, in my opinion. That's just me. That's just me. So anyways, I'll put Caleb Banks at 29 just in case. So out of all those four guys, of course, you're going to want Monroe Freeling if he falls to 22 or 23 and they trade up. He would be like who you would want. But I'm not going to consider the trade-ups. So if it's just between Johnson and Banks, I'm obviously taking Johnson over Banks. That's just the way it is. At pick 40, so on day 2, these are day 2 guys that the Chiefs could possibly take and have looked at in a top 30 setting. Caleb Banks I'll include on day 2 because I think he's a day 2 guy. Chris Bell out of U of L, who just had a top 30 yesterday with the Chiefs, and Teddy Hurst out of Georgia State. Ted Hurst, he's a guy, I think he is going to be a top 75 pick. He probably gets drafted round 2, at the latest round 3, so he's going to be a day 2 guy. Banks, Bell, and Hurst, 2 wide receivers and a defensive tackle. Which do I prefer out of Bell and Hurst? Obviously, Chris Bell's the much better player. He's played the better competition. He's the most explosive. He's got the better hands, but he's also got an ACL injury with that, right? So take that how you will. The Chiefs brought him in on a top 30. If his medicals are clear and they feel comfortable, would not surprise me to see him being considered around the Chiefs pick 40. If the Chiefs don't pick him at 40, the Chiefs won't get him at 74, I don't think. I don't think if his medicals are good, Chris Bell falls to 74. He would, by all means, be the wide receiver 4, wide receiver 3 in this class if he's completely healthy. I could see some people putting him above Omar Cooper, and I'd be kind of fine with it. He kind of does what Omar Cooper does, but he's just bigger. He's just bigger. Dude looks like a linebacker out there. He's 222. You ought to see some Chris Bell high school tape. This is insane. This dude looked like T.O. out there against a bunch of high school kids. It was wild. He was making like one-handed diving catches. He is an incredible talent. If you can keep Chris Bell's head on straight, you can get that knee good, and you don't have any problems with that, Chris Bell would be nice. But again, just like with Jordan Tyson at pick 9, at pick 40, you're looking at another guy with an ACL history, another guy. Look, Chris Bell's he's not been injured as much as Tyson. Not even close. But you still got to put them in as like injury. You know, you got to kind of put the little asterisk by it. But yeah, I do think Chris Bell, I would prefer, he'd be my number 1 selection here out of all the top 30s. He'd be my number 1 selection at 40. Caleb Banks would probably edge out Ted Hurst at 2. Because Caleb Banks does have a lot of those intangibles. 86-inch wingspan. That's insane. This dude can probably tie a shoe without bending over. That's how tall and how long his arms are. He's 6'6", 335. He's a massive human. If they could get the best out of him, he's awesome. But if they can't keep him focused and they can't get, him to do things, he's going to be a headache, and it's going to be one that you look back on and be like, well, there goes another wasted second round pick. Because a lot of people are already saying that with Omar Norman Lott. I was a big Omar Norman Lott guy. I think Omar Norman Lott's got something to prove. I could be wrong. I'm not going to say I'm completely wrong right now, but I'm trending more wrong than right, and I'll say that. But I think the Chiefs just didn't use him properly, and I think putting all that weight on him, and again, whether he did it himself or they did it to him, I think that hurt the ACL. But look, he come in and laid the smack down on Jalen Hurts in week 2. He crushed him. He sent him to the underworld. That kid was good, man. So it is what it is. I would be super surprised if Omar Norman Lott don't come back and at least create some kind of an impact. But yeah, I'll say he's probably the guy that I would look to take right there would be, let me see. I don't want to get it wrong. Yeah. So for 40, pick 40, I would prefer Chris Bell, then Caleb Banks, then Teddy Hurst. Day 3 kind of guys. And look, Kevin Coleman could slide into day 2, but I think these guys are primarily day 3 guys probably. Kevin Coleman Jr. out of Missouri, 5'11", 179. He's just a yak slot weapon. He's pretty decent. Rene Conga out of U of L, another defensive tackle, 6'4", 300. He just had a top 30. That kid can move. He's more Omar Norman Lott style. He's not the guy that's going to help with the run. Jack Dingle, who's basically going to be a day 3 UDFA kind of guy out of Cincinnati. They could be using Jack Dingle to check out Goal Day. Who knows? But 6'4", 240, he could be a nice special teamer there if they get at UDFA. And then they've done a virtual visit with Malik Benson, wide receiver out of Oregon, who's a speedster. I think they may have talked to him at the Shrine Bowl as well. He ran a 4.37. So you've got all that. That's the way it's probably looking right now. Let me get to the chat. Tony with a 5 bomb says, we signed Stephon Diggs to a 1-year contract. I'm not for sure where you're seeing that, brother. I haven't seen that all day long. Unless that just happened like right this second. I'm not seeing it, man. I don't know if that's a thing. I don't know where you're seeing that. Let me do a little bit of research for you. I don't want to be wrong. I don't want to call you a liar. I don't think it's true, brother. If it was true, I do think it would be reported right now by Rappaport, somebody on X. We don't have any Diggs mentions on X for the past 2 hours. So I just cannot see that being right. No, man, I'm not seeing it. It's not being reported anywhere. I don't think you're trolling, Tony. You watch the show a lot. I don't know where you got the information from. If you've seen it on Facebook, I would always advise people to never look at Facebook. People just post anything, man. I appreciate the $5. Appreciate you sending me on a wild goose chase and getting my blood pressure raised up, though, because I do think Stephon Diggs could help the wide receiver room, but I don't like his baggage. Right now, he's also in court for doing something. What? Choking out his maid? I don't know what he's in court for, man, but it's possible he may not even play this year. So if I was the Chiefs, I would stay away from Stephon Diggs. 100%, I would stay away from him. I don't think that's true, man. I don't know where you heard it, but go back, check that source, brother. I don't think it's true. But I appreciate all you guys being here right now. Hit that like button for me. Got 142 people watching right now. We've only got 35 likes. Double tap that screen for me. Tip, 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 tip. Get it going. Let's get it up. Get more people in here. Appreciate you guys watching on X. Appreciate you guys watching on Facebook. Look, if you got any more any super chats, anything you want to throw out, you want to ask about anything, I'll take a look at it. I'll make sure I get to the super chat. I'll try to watch the regular chat. It's just harder. So that's why a lot of people are like, man, you guys never read off that. No, we try. It just gets a little wild sometimes, especially the way our setup is. You don't really see that unless you're looking. I try to keep a second phone. So if you see me looking down, I'm trying to read chat too. So I've got chat over here, chat down here, chat over here, and it's still tough to see. But I appreciate you guys being here. Hit that like button for me. Subscribe if you haven't already. So we just talked about the Chiefs' top 30 visits. Now I'll run these down one more time. Reuben Bain, Arvell Reese, David Bailey, Carnell Tate, Mekhi Lemon, Caden Proctor, Monroe Freeling. Those are the guys that, and look, Monroe Freeling's not been 100% confirmed, but I think he's probably taking a top 30. Those are the guys the Chiefs should consider at pick number 9. I think they've probably looked at a lot more people. Maybe the 2 corners, McCoy and Delane. They've probably looked at Caleb Downs, but these are the ones that's been confirmed. So those are your guys there. In your late first round, Proctor and Freeling, again, I think you got to include them. Chris Johnson, Caleb Banks. At 40, Caleb Banks, Chris Bell, Ted Hurst. Day 3 guys, Kevin Coleman, Renee Conga out of U of L, Jack Dingle out of Cincy, and Malik Benson they've done a virtual visit with. I would say at the end of the day, there's probably 15 more guys out there they've probably taken picks on, or probably taken top 30s with. I would say Jordan Tyson. I would say probably Caleb Downs. I'd probably say Sonny Styles. They've probably met with Lomu. They've probably met with Fano. There's probably a lot of guys they've met with. Maybe Omar Cooper Jr., maybe Francis Maui Noah, McCoy, Delane. I'd say Jeremiah Love possibly. They've probably met with Sadiq. They may have met with Terrell, Peter Woods, TJ Parker, Zion Young, some of those guys, Max Ahanachor, that's a possibility too. So there's probably plenty of guys. We'll know hopefully pretty soon if they can get all that out. But I appreciate you guys being here. Those are just the guys that the Chiefs have been confirmed to take a top 30 with. Chris Wright in the house with a 2-bomb, baby. What's up, Chris? He says, any traction on the Giants 5-37 to us for 9-29? I haven't heard anything about that specific 5-37 for 9-29. I've not heard anything about that. But on our video the other day, we had heard that there were rumblings that they weren't going to get up to the Giants. Cleveland.com, I think that's who it was. Somebody, an official newspaper in Cleveland, we'll just put it that way, confirmed the suspicions that the Giants are looking to move out, and they have been in contact with the Chiefs, but there's nothing set in stone there. We come up with maybe they're looking if they wanted to get up for Bain or Bailey. I threw out the possibility that maybe you give up just a little bit more than you would, see if you can maybe snake out Kayvon Thibodeau out of them. Maybe you can get up at the 5, and maybe you can take Bain or Bailey and get Kayvon Thibodeau. That'd be pretty sick. Because he is a Brett Veach special at this point. He's an underperformer guy on a rookie contract. Maybe we could find something out of him. Who knows? Maybe not. But yeah, that's all I've heard as of late. I don't got anything set in stone. I'd say appreciate the 2-bomb, Chris. I hope you're doing well, brother. I'd say like the most crazy draft takes I've heard right now is the Chiefs have considered, from what we're hearing, the Chiefs have had talks within their people. I don't think they've reached out to the other team. Maybe an initial, I don't know. But they've had talks to move up as far as number 3. We've heard that. It's not been confirmed. It's not been reported. We've heard it. Take it with a grain of salt. I don't even know if I believe it. We have heard number 5 with the Giants. Yes. We've heard number 4 with Borgonzi and the Titans. Why wouldn't you? It's Borgonzi. We've heard that. So it sounds like the Chiefs have done their due diligence saying, look, if we got to get to 3, we'll go to 3. If we need to be at 4 or 5, we can go to 4 or 5. We've heard that the Browns were high on Caden Proctor and could possibly take Caden Proctor at number 6. We've heard that it's between Caden Proctor and, barring any guy higher on their board, Caden Proctor and Carnell Tate has been the 2 big-time rumors at the Browns at number 6. We've heard that the Commanders at number 7 could take Bain or Bailey if they fall. They're also pretty intrigued with Tate and Lemon, okay, but they would be willing to trade down. So that's another one. We've heard that the Saints possibly could want to trade up. Some other crazy stuff. We've heard that Dallas could be trying to trade into the top 10. We've heard that Monroe Freeling is probably going to be a top 15 pick. What other things have we heard? These are wild rumors, but we've heard this. We've heard that the Chiefs really, really, really like Jordan Tyson at number 9. I heard that. 100% heard that one. What else? What's some crazy ones we've heard? I've heard that Caleb Banks will completely fall out of the top first round. Steve doesn't believe it, but I've heard it. I've heard that only two defensive tackles are projected to go in the top 32 rather, the first round. Those 2 tackles are Peter Woods and Caden McDonald. That's what I'm hearing. That's the only 2. I've heard that Eli Stowers is getting first round looks at guys at the end of the first round. And yes, I've heard that the Chiefs have considered that if he's there at 29, they will take him. That's why Steve put him in the draft. We've heard that from a source that's pretty spot on sometimes. We've heard it. There's a lot of things we've heard. Dude, we're juggling tons and tons and tons of info. I've heard that there could be 7 tackles taken in the first round. I've heard that there could be 7 to 8 defensive ends taken in the first round. I've heard that there may only be 3 wide receivers go in the first round. I've heard that there's going to be 4 and then there's a strict cutoff. I've also heard that there could be 6. So, I mean, you're hearing everything. The point is you got to weigh it. You got to decide what could be true and what could be not. If I had to weigh any of those options, in my opinion, I believe that here's the ones that I would put stock in. I would put maybe 35 to 45% stock that Eli Stowers could be a first-round pick. I think it's less than a coin toss. I think it's more likely he probably goes between 30 and 50. But if he sneaks into the top 30, it wouldn't be a major, major surprise for me. But I will give it maybe a 30 to 35 to 40% chance. So we'll say 30 to 40% chance that Eli Stowers gets in the round 1. I think that 4 wide receivers could go in round 1. And I'll say to get a fifth wide receiver in round 1, be it Boston or Concepcion, I'll give it a 50-50 shot. You get a 5th. And to get 6 in, I'll say 20% chance top 6 wide receivers come in. I think at round 1 at tackle, I do think about 4 or 5 is where it's going to be. I think Maui Noah's getting in. I think Fano gets in. I think Monroe Freeling gets in. Man, maybe Ahanichor and Lomu get in. But if I had to cut it, I would say 4. And if it goes to, say, 6, I would say 6. There's about a 25% chance that there's 6 of them taken, in my opinion. I'd say 3 or 4, you're looking at about a 75% chance. After the 4th one comes off the board, it's really getting kind of grim unless you're reaching. Another thing I'd put stock in is the Chris Johnson one. Chris Johnson going in round 1. From what I'm hearing, that one's pretty solid. I would put more stock in Chris Johnson going round 1 than Eli Stowers. Recently, I've been hearing that Kenyon Sadiq could fall to 29. He is not falling to 29. Kenyon Sadiq will not fall out of the top 20. Not a chance in hell. I give that a 0% chance Kenyon Sadiq falls out of the top 20. If he does, he ain't falling past 22 or 23. There's no way he falls past them. There's too many needs right there in the middle of that, and especially at 21, 22, 23, he's not getting that far down. Ain't going to happen. So write that one off. You're not getting Sadiq at 29. For every mock draft I see that takes the Chiefs, takes Kenyon Sadiq at 29, and they didn't have to trade up, throw that draft out the window, unfollow the person that told you that. It is wrong. It is not happening. Another guy that could slip into the first round that not a lot of people have talked about, but he's getting a little bit of steam right now. Blake Miller, Clemson, could come up at the back end of the first round. Emmanuel McNeil-Warren could slide into the back of the first round. That's another guy. Keep an eye on. And maybe Jacob Rodriguez is starting to get a little first-round buzz. I don't know if I believe he goes super, super high, but if he falls like 20, if he gets in there in like the 25s, But the only reason I'll say with Jacob Rodriguez why that could be a little bit of a smoke, he is 24 years old. But a lot of guys don't care about that. Brett Veach and them, I don't think Brett Veach has drafted anybody over the age of 23, if I'm mistaken. But yeah, Rodriguez is 24. Bruce Bochy from Oregon's 24, and Xavier Sori from Arkansas is 24. They're the 3 oldest linebackers in this class, I believe. I'll take that back, though. There's a kid out of Ole Miss that's 26. I don't even remember his name. And then there is like a bench kind of guy that come out of Alabama. It's a little lower too, but yep, those are what I would say in my opinion. Those are the ones you could take stock in. Mike Mitchell, new member. Appreciate you, Mike. Appreciate you, brother. If you guys haven't become a member yet, $4.99 gets it started. Become a member of the ACU crew. Join.allchieftsup.com. Shane in the house with the 2 bomb says, do you think Andy will have a fullback this year? No, I don't. I wish. No, look, they could put a guy on a roster. Like if you were to draft, say, Eli Heidenreich in round 6 or 7, if he falls that far, he could go as early as round 5, maybe. But say Heidenreich, he is listed as a fullback, but he's not a fullback. Let's be honest, he's not a fullback. You can maybe say H-back. I'll give you that one. Hell, you could say H-back with a Kenyon Sadiq. I think the most they're getting to is just that kind of thing. I don't think it's going to be initially called a fullback. He could surprise me. If we're doing the chances again, I'd give it about a 20% chance he has a fullback on the roster. Appreciate the 2 bomb, Shane. Look, I'm going to grab a drink, take a quick break. Watch this from Prize Picks, and I'll be right back. Shout out Prize Picks. Download the app. Use code HMA. I'll be right back. Chiefs Kingdom, we have officially partnered with Prize Picks, America's #1 sports picks app. Prize Picks is a daily fantasy sports platform. It's distinctly separate from a traditional sports book, and it's the absolute best way to add some extra heat to every single game. The app is incredibly easy to use. You aren't playing against sharks. You're just picking more or less on an individual player projection. Think Kenneth Walker's total rushing yards per game, more or less. Travis Kelce's total touchdowns in 2026, only 4, more or less. You just pick at least 2 players, lock in your lineup, and you're in the action. Prize Picks is available in most states, including California, Texas, Florida, and right here in the heart of America, Missouri and Kansas. One thing we love is the new public feed. You can actually find and follow us directly on the app at All Chiefed Up. You'll be able to see our live lineups and tell our picks before we even post them here on the channel or our other social media platforms. So if you haven't joined yet, just download the app and use code HMA when you sign up. When you play your first $5 lineup, you're going to get $50 in lineups instantly. Click the link in the description, use code HMA, and remember to always play responsibly. Now back to the show. Appreciate you guys. Prize Picks, shout out Prize Picks, man. They're going to work with us throughout the draft. They're going to work with us throughout the entire season coming up. We've made a nice partnership with those guys. So if they're available in your state, go out and do that. It's super easy. You kind of just select who you want. You know, you can do NBA, MLB. You can say, look, Bobby Witt's getting a hit, baby. Witt's getting a hit. I'm going to do it. I'm going to go more than 1 hit, blah, blah, blah. It's pretty easy to use. Use code HMA. Love it. I'm having fun with it. So let's get back to it, man. There's a lot of takes. I want to kind of go through what you guys are saying right now, and let's just address a few of the things that people are saying. I mean, people have got tons and tons and tons of takes. I'll call them takes. Tons of takes right now. So let's get to a few of these because I've seen one. Flapjack in the house. Okay, he says Bane is a bust. I'm calling it right now. Dude will be average. Now, look, there's 2 things here. One, I don't disagree. I don't know if I say Bane is a double-digit sack guy in the NFL. I can't get myself to say that year in and year out, he's going to be a double-digit sack guy. Could he be just as productive as George Karlaftis? Absolutely. Does he play like George Karlaftis? A lot. I think he's got a better bend. I think he sets a better edge versus the run. I think he's probably a better run defender than George Karlaftis. I think he's got a slight bit more juice than George Karlaftis. He could close as well or better. But here's what I'll say. George Karlaftis proved he could get to double-digit sacks. Bain is in that same boat. So that's what I'm saying. I think Bain could get to double-digit sacks, but if he didn't, say a few years he only gets to 6 to 8, it wouldn't surprise me either. But again, it's easy to say guys are going to be bust or they're not, because at the end of the day, every single draft class out of 300 people taken, 280 of them are going to be really good and stay in the league, or 20 to 25. 275 to 280 of those guys are going to just fall off into to nobodies and work at McDonald's in 8 years. So it's easy to say that people are going to be a bust because, I mean, like, you've got an 80% chance, if not better, of being right. So I could say, look, every guy taken in the top 10 this year is going to be a bust. And statistically, I've got an 80% chance, if not better, of being completely right about that take. And also, being a bust is subjective. There's some people right now that think, like, for example, George Karlaftis has been a bust. There are people that will say he's a bust. He wasn't worth his second contract. He's not good. We shouldn't put him on the roster. He's a bust. There's also people that say, you know what I mean? It's subjective. There's a lot of people that love George Karlaftis. That think he's great, thinks that contract's good. Also, if you're not an all-pro, people will say you're a bust. You can't just be a good pick. You can't be just a solid pick. People don't want solid, especially in the top 10. But where I'm going to counter that is this isn't a good draft. It's not a great draft. There's not a lot of Pro Bowl players in this draft. I'm going to be dead honest. If you find one in this draft, you got lucky. Let's just say it that way. Carnell Tate is arguably wide receiver 1, and I don't think he's no better than a wide receiver 2 in this league. T. Higgins would be great if he could get to T. Higgins. I just don't see a lot of players. For me, Jeremiah Love's got a chance of being a really, really, really good running back. A lot of people don't think he'll get Bijan Robinson. He won't get to Christian McCaffrey. They may be right. The odds are they probably are right. But I will say Love, Bain, and Downs are the three that I will say will have the most consistent careers, and I can't come off of that. I could be wrong. I just can't come off of it. I feel like those are the three guys that are the most safe guys to pick. And again, could be a bust, but I feel like in this class, saying those three are the most safe just shows you how not deep this class really is. So Melinda, been a member for 7 months, says, I really appreciate the top 10 list you guys put out. No problem, Melinda. Yeah, we got the top 10s. Look, in all transparency, I think I switched one last night already. I think I moved somebody above the other one. It's just one of those things that every day for 2, 3, 4 hours, I'll watch new stuff. I'll watch new tape. I'll watch new things. And they're hard. It's like every day I'm like, dude, I want to move this guy. I want to move this guy. I want to move this guy. I'm going to be moving these bad boys all the way up till next Thursday. And I bet you within an hour of the draft, I'll probably move somebody else. But they're going to be in the general ballpark. On draft day, usually when they get picked, we will come in and I will give you my final rankings and I'll show you, hey, the Chiefs took Chris Bell. I had Chris Bell as wide receiver 8. That's what we'll usually say. So that would be our final definitive rankings. And then once draft day comes around, those rankings get turned off and they sit there. They sit in an archive. They just sit there and we go on to the next year. That's the way it works. So appreciate you, Melinda. I hope you guys had a good one with that episode. If you haven't watched yesterday's episode, I really encourage you to do so. It was very, very good. It's only about 30 minutes. If you find time, if you want to just go for a walk, put it in your earbud, whatever. A lot of good stuff in there, talking about the trade up with the Giants, talking about a potential, there's a lot of things in there, but the top 10 list was a big one. Mikey likes stuff with a 5 bomb, says any pick can be a bust where they're picked. Trust Veach. Absolutely. Anybody can be a bust. Again, I remember when the Rams took Puka Nacua years ago, there was a lot of meltdowns on Rams Twitter. You would have thought, I mean, I think a guy threw a remote through his TV. One guy crashed his car into a brick wall. Dude, it was crazy. And then a year later, Puka Nacua is like the gold standard of trying to find sleepers. And that's what I'm saying. This entire process, we have dealt with people in February. Man, you did a mock draft. You took blank here. I was getting them at pick 150. Okay, who cares? That's a different ranking system. They don't hear the same things we do. They don't value players. This is how I look. Draft picks, believe it or not, are a commodity. It's no different than going to the store. It's kind of it's like the free market. You've got a guy. Let's just use Jordan Tyson. You got Jordan Tyson. Jordan Tyson is a product. He is an asset. How do you value? Team A values Jordan Tyson different than Team B, different than Team C, different than Team D, all the way down for 32 teams. They all value people differently. I could have, look, shout out Mando. I got a stick of Mando here. It's $12 at the store, okay? Some people might think that Mando sucks. I wouldn't pay $1 for that. And some people might be like, bro, Mando's the only thing I love. It's the only thing that works for me. If I had to pay $20 for Mando, I'd do it. That's what a draft pick is. Some don't see him worth as much and others do. When the Patriots thought Cole Strange was worth a first-round pick, that was wild, blew my mind. But what if Cole Strange would have been a good pick? Then they would have been geniuses. So, yes, you can miss, and yes, you can be wrong, but you can also be right. So, again, it's tough to just label these guys bust, not bust, things like that. It is tough. And then a lot, you say trust Veach. Again, I'll trust Veach. I think Veach has done a good job. Excuse me. But Veach has had some good draft classes, and Veach has had a lot of stink draft classes. So, I mean, that's anybody. Drafting's tough. Evaluating picks is tough. You get 6 to 10 tries per year. Again, your hit rate on those 20 to 30% is probably above average. So I think Brett Veach has done a fine job, but there's a lot of places where he has came up short. And I'm not saying everybody hasn't come up short. No GM's perfect. So I think Brett Veach does just as good or better than the next guy, and probably better than 90% of the league, 95% of the league. Brett Veach is probably better than. So I would put my eggs in the Brett Veach basket. Where Brett Veach gets off a little bit, and I think the coaches are influenced. Spags' style, Andy Reid's style, what we look for in a tackle, what we look for in a wide receiver, what we look for in a running back, trying to fit what you look for or your prototype gets you in a lot of trouble, rather than just saying, you know what, this guy don't fit our prototype. He's maybe 5 pounds a little lighter than we like. His arm length's maybe a half an inch shorter than what we like, but he's a hell of a football player. Let's go ahead and put him on the team and make it work. But then what you get in trouble is you say, yeah, but this player, he's not ranked as high. He's not played as good of a competition, but boy, his arms are long. I think we'll take him. Well, okay, now you're stuck with Stretch Armstrong on the bench getting 1 sack in 6 years, and the guy that you've, passed up on is a Pro Bowler. So that's where you'll get yourself in trouble, in my opinion. I could be wrong. I'm wrong about a lot of shit. Appreciate the 5 bomb. Appreciate everybody that's donated today, by the way. Tony with a 5, Chris with 2, Mike Mitchell became a new member, Shane with a 2 bomb, Mikey with a 5, Flapjack with a 5. Let's go ahead and get the Flapjack's 5. He says, if the Kansas City Chiefs don't care about character because they want to win, baby, then why did we pass on George Pickens? I need answers. So look, Matt Verderame said that he said that relayed to us through proxy by Price Carter. I don't know if it's true. I can't confirm it. I don't know if Price, I don't know why Matt would lie. I don't know why he would lie to Price. I don't know why Price would lie to us. So if you just take it as it's a game of telephone and they don't have any reason to lie, then maybe he's right. The Chiefs have really told somebody that they don't care about character. They just want to win. But it could be completely false. So I don't know. And you're right. Why would we have passed on Pickens? I think that's twofold. Maybe they didn't pass on Pickens because of character. Honestly, maybe they passed on Pickens because he was a big-bodied ex-wide receiver that Andy Reid doesn't routinely use. And then they tried to fit their prototype, their metric, their guy, Tyreek Hill-esque, into Sky Moore, who just didn't have it, didn't play the level of competition, didn't back it up on the field for more than 1 year, and they tried to make the round peg go through the square hole, just as though I explained it, and they got themselves in trouble. And that's where Brett Veach gets himself in trouble. He wanted to take McCole Hardman because he was the short Tyreek Hill. He's this guy. He's the Xavier Worthy. He's the Tyreek Hill. He's Sky Moore. Blah, 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 blah. And he misses out on DK Metcalf. And he's kind of seen throughout his career that was a huge blunder. He's tried to go get DK Metcalf, and it's probably kept him up at night. But that's where the Chiefs and Brett Veach specifically get in trouble. And look, you don't have to believe me. You don't have to listen to a word I say. You can listen to everybody else. You don't have to take what I say as a grain of salt. But as for me, in my opinion, in this channel, because Steve believes with me, we believe that's where Brett Veach gets himself in trouble a lot, is trying to fit molds and to try to keep recreating something when you should just be taking best players available. Quit. If it comes down to the Chiefs taking, and look, I have nothing against Kevin Coleman Jr. Kevin Coleman Jr., though, is 5'11", 179. He's going to be a great value brand, and I don't want to say that in a derogatory manner to Kevin Coleman. I like Kevin Coleman. But he is like the great value brand to the name brand of, say, Xavier Worthy. And, of course, you can also mix in with the whole McCole Hardman. Your entire, like those kinds of wide receivers. He's that. If he's sitting on the board, this would be the equivalent of Brett Veach taking Kevin Coleman Jr. in round 2, or let's just say round 3, pick 74. They take Kevin Coleman Jr. because he fits, and they leave Ted Hurst sitting on the board because, well, he's an X, he's 204, he don't fit our system as well. He's 6'4", I don't know. He's just not our guy. Like, he's the Pickens. Coleman's the, he's the prototype. It's that again. And I'm just not down with that. Quit. I don't want it. Like, let's move on. Let's take the best. Let's take the Chris Bell. Okay? Let's take the Chris Bell if we got the shot. If Teddy Hurst is the best receiver on the board at 74, or it's between him and Kevin Coleman or somebody like that, some of the shorter prototype guys the Chiefs like, let's get out of the box a little bit and move. And I guess a lot of people will say that. Well, let's take Tate over Lemon then. You took Lemon over Tate. Why is that? I personally don't think Rashee Rice. Here's my thing. I don't think they should give Rashee Rice a long-term deal. And so things that I'm doing are coming from a stance of this is Rashee Rice's last year. I'm not even 100% sold on Xavier Worthy. If you remember me and Steve, we were saying Xavier Worthy was a reach. He was not worth first-round talent. His rookie year, he kind of looked like he proved us wrong a little bit. Last year, kind of looked like we were right. So he's still to be determined. Still on the fence there. But I don't think I'm sold on him right now at 100%. They've yet to use Tyquan Thornton for more than 6 games. He is on the roster. They should plan on using him. But going forward next year, they haven't used Jalen Royals. And I don't think, I couldn't trust Rashee Rice with a big contract. So for me, Mekhi Lemon does Rashee Rice. If you want to go at number 9, if you want to go at number 40, Chris Bell does Rashee Rice. Now, they're two different guys. Chris Bell's 6'2", 222. Mekhi Lemon's 5'11", 192. Bell's got about 30 pounds on Lemon, and he's got about 3 inches. but they both play like Rashee Rice. Bell just plays like Rashee Rice if Rashee Rice was a bodybuilder. That's your difference. Also, Bell can go out and do like the MVS kind of stuff. I think he's more versatile. So that's what I would do. If you want to look, that's a pretty good experiment to do. I appreciate the 5, Flapjack. That's a pretty good experiment, is if you went down the board, and I may do that in just a second. That might be what I do before I wrap this bad boy up. We'll go down the board. I'll go to every single pick and tell you who the Rashee Rice replacement could be at every single pick according to my board. And I'll do rounds 1 through 5. And then we'll also give you an alternative at the picks that if they don't want to go with a Rashee Rice clone, or they don't want to go with a Tyreek Hill clone, and you just want to take a good wide receiver in that area, no matter what it is, I'll give you that one too. But before I do that, let's get to Super Slapnut with a 5-bomb. Love the name. I think Veach will overcorrect on the defensive end with a trade up at 9, then try to trade up again with 29 if he can get it done for a receiver. That is possible. I can see Brett Veach going up twice. He needs to land one of these 2 pass rushers, be it Bain or Bailey. You're absolutely right. I think he has to do it. If you sit at 9 and you don't get Bain or Bailey, people are going to be irate. Now, you could wait, but I'm telling you, Parker at 29, Zion Young at 29. I don't care if you even take my guy, Gabe Akers. I think at the end of the day, I give them maybe a 30 to 50% chance, like somewhere in that range, to be as effective as Ruben Bain or David Bailey's going to be. And honestly, I think Ruben Bain's going to be more effective than Bailey, unless Bailey finds a system that really uses him right. In our system, Bailey would have more trouble than Bain playing a lot of early downs and getting a lot of development in, because Ruben Bain sets the edge and he does have a lot of juice. He's everything Spags likes. He's just got a little more juice to add to it. So that's what I'll say. I appreciate the 5-bomb Super Slap. No, everybody's donated tonight. Flapjack, Mikey, Super Slap, Shane, Chris, Tony. Appreciate all you guys. You guys are awesome. Look, before I head out today, let's go through and let's go through every pick we've got. Let's go through every pick we've got through the first 5 rounds. And let's do the thing I was telling you about. According to my draft rankings, let me get this in. Chiefs draft order 2026. I want to get every pick right. I'm pretty sure it's 120, 9, 29, 40, 74, and then I think 109. So let's go through pick 109. That'll be 5 picks, round 1 through round 4. So according to my draft board, all chiefed up draft board. Now look, again, this goes over everybody's head. I know everybody loves mock draft simulators, and I know everybody likes to do it. It's fun. It's fun. I do them. They're fun. But at the end of the day, you must remember these simulators run off of a draft board. They run off somebody's top 100. So if you're doing PFF, you're running off PFF's top 100 board or top 300 board. You're running off PFSN's top board. You're running off A to Z Sports board. No matter who you are, you're running off their board. That's just one asshole out of all these assholes that do mock draft shit. That's just one. So you can't just rely on PFF and be like, well, I get this player at 150. He's not worth anything better. Or I get him later. That's one guy. PFF, you guys trash PFF 24/7. Why do you want to take their draft rankings into, why do you want to put them on a pedestal now? Don't do it. Remember that whatever simulator you're on, you are doing one specific person's draft order. This is not like an NFL mandated draft order that the draft will run. The draft's not going to look anything like any of these simulators. I promise you that. So what I would prefer everybody to eventually do, and this is what I asked Charles Goldman for A to Z to do, is to be able to make your own draft board. You yourself, go watch some tape. Decide who you like better, who you like worse. Put them in order and then draft according to your draft board. You will see that you don't agree with PFF, or you do agree with a PFF on certain things. But that's what I want to see. So right now, we're going to go off our draft board. Our draft board. At pick number 9, if the Chiefs, and this is pretty obvious, if the Chiefs want to go outside the box, you take Carnell Tate. If you want Rashee Rice, or you want a prototype it's going to be Mekhi Lemon. That would be your options at number 9. If you want to go outside the box and you just want to get the best player, it's Jordan Tyson. If you feel comfortable, it's Jordan Tyson. So here's what I'll say. Out of those 3, I'll rank them. Mekhi Lemon is your safest. Jordan Tyson is your biggest boom. And Carnell Tate is just the guy that's just a little bit different. He's going to excite us, but I don't know how he's going to pan out. There's your 3 options. At 29, you've got 3 options. If you want to go with just your Carnell Tate, say you want the next Carnell Tate, it's Denzel Boston. He's the guy that I don't know how he'll fit with us. He could be good, could be bad. He may play a lot, he may not. But he's a little different. He's an MVS. That's Denzel Boston. If you want a guy that is going to fit the mold of a Chiefs wide receiver, you know, your great value Tyreek Hill, it's KC Concepcion. That's at number 29. That would be your guy there that would mimic that. There is no other guy there like plays like Rashee Rice. If you wanted Rashee Rice there, you either hope that Omar Cooper Jr. falls down that low, which he's not going to. So let's just say you do want Rashee Rice's replacement, and you want to get him at 29. You don't want to wait. You have to move up to get Omar Cooper, or you have to sit at 29 and you got to reach a little bit on Chris Bell. That's your 2 options there. So let's go to pick 40. Chris Bell is now in your wheelhouse at pick 40. He is, by all means, all 3 of these put together. He is the MVS X role that the Chiefs don't love, the Carnell Tate. He's that kind of role. He is the Rashee Rice role. He is the Rashee Rice role. He's also a big-time boomer bust. So to me, at pick 40, it's that. Now, one more guy I'm going to put in at pick 40 here. One more guy I'm going to put in at pick 40. He may be a little bit safer. He's not as explosive. He's going to do Rashee Rice, but he might not do it as well. He's going to line up everywhere. He's a Swiss Army knife. He doesn't do anything exceptionally great, but he does everything very, very good. I think his floor is high. He's a very high character guy. Jeremy Bernard. That's your 2. If you want to try to hit a home run, knock it out of the park, you take Chris Bell at 40. If you just want to be safe, you just want to get a guy that can line up all over the field, he'll block. He gives you what Juju does. He gives you reliability like Juju. He gives you yak ability, similar, not the same, but similar to Rashee Rice. It's Jeremy Bernard. So there's your pick 40s. If we go down to 74, according to our board, Ted Hurst at 68, Antonio Williams at 69. And look, Antonio Williams is going to be moved up higher. He's going to be moved up higher. Antonio Williams should be moved up well higher than that. I don't think my draft board saved my latest updated movements from this morning. So I could be in a little bit of trouble. But I think Antonio Williams is going to be a second-round pick. I don't think he gets to 74. I don't. I'm going to end up having him a lot higher. But I'll throw him in for right now. So actually, let's not, because I don't think he's going to get to 74. At 74, you could have Ted Hurst. He could be the big X. Your other X is Deshaun Stribling. He's going to be there. I don't think Deshaun Stribling gets out of the 3rd round. He doesn't get out day 2. And then your play it safe kind of guy is Zach Branch. That's your 3 options there. So it's Ted Hurst, Deshaun Stribling, or Zach Branch. Like, that would be your 3 options at 74 more than likely. If any of those are off the board, you could substitute like an Elijah Surratt. He could slide in for, say, Deshaun Stribling or Ted Hurst. He's not as explosive as Hurst. He's not as explosive as Stribling, but he's that big X kind. So let's just say he's more like you're different. More of the same is Zach Branch. So far, more of the same has been Mekhi Lemon. More of the same has been KC Concepcion. More of the same has been Zach Branch. Different has been Stribling at 74. Different has been Chris Bell at 40. Different has been Denzel Boston at 29. High value guys, probably Jordan Tyson at 9. At 29, high value, probably Chris Bell would be your best shot. Chris Bell would also slide into number 40 as your high value. Somewhere between 29 and 40, that's Chris Bell. At 74, your high value, more than likely, like your big hit, it's probably Antonio Williams if he falls. And if not, could be Ted Hurst, which is weird because I'm not the biggest on Ted Hurst, but he does offer you a little bit different. Now, I think DeJon Stribling could be, he's not rated higher in the rankings, but I do think DeJon Stribling has a chance to be really good if he finds the right spot. Like, he could be a big-time boomer bust pick. And so the last one we'll look at will be 109? 109 on our draft board. 109, Bryce Lance. He makes himself into the top 100. I think Bryce Lance will be in my top 100 when it's all said and done. So we'll say him. I think he would be your big boomer bust. Skylar Bell is your more of the same in that area. And then Josh Cameron out of Baylor. He's more like the Chris Bell type that he's not like boom or bust, I don't think, but he's more like reliable, the X. I don't know. I don't love Josh Cameron. He's just really solid. Let's put it that way. But he is built like Chris Bell. He's 6'2", 223. Chris Bell was 6'2", 222, I believe. So, yeah, and then right there, I'll give you maybe Deion Burks, too. You can maybe slide Deion Burks, but that's more of the same. He goes in the more of the same category. So, that's what I'll say. That would be my rankings of where you would start to look at them. So, basically, more of the same guys. Let me highlight these more of the sames. More of the same is Makai Lemon. More of the same is Casey Concepcion. More of the same is, let me see. More of the same is Zach Branch. More of the same is Skylar Bell. More of the same is Kevin Coleman. More of the same is Deion Burks. That's where I'll stop there. I'll call those more of the same guys. Those are just your safe Brett Veach kind of guys right there. Okay, that's just your more of the sames. Your Brett Veachies. Your safest players in the whole draft is probably Cooper, Jeremy Bernard. Those are probably your two safest, I would say. Now, I don't know how safe, but I would say they're probably your safer ones. Your biggest boom guys is Jordan Tyson, Chris Bell, maybe DeJon Stribling. Those are your biggest boomers. Not boomers as in old, but booms. I think that's like your guys. So, yeah, I would say your Makai Lemon, Casey Concepcion, Zach Branch, Skylar Bell, Kevin Coleman, Deion Burks. They're your more of the same kind of guys. More of the sames. Your big hits, Jordan Tyson, Chris Bell, DeJon Stribling. And those are like, those are scary. They're scary picks. They're scary picks. And you know who else could probably go in there? I honestly would think that Chris Brazzell could get in that too. I think Chris Brazzell could get in that. I actually think Antonio Williams could maybe fit in that. Antonio Williams is kind of like a mix of more in the same, 5'11", 189, but he could be good. He's got that potential. So Antonio Williams is a very intriguing one for me. He's kind of different, but the same. Antonio Williams at 40 could be a wild pick. But I swear, I comped him to Darnell Mooney meets Deontay Johnson. Lundy says, will Chris Bell be ready to play this year? I think so. I think he should be fine. He does November, so it is possible he could start camp. He could miss camp. I don't know if he's going to, but he could, according to timelines. I'll say most people get cleared for football within 8 months tops. So Patrick Mahomes is going to be cleared by he'll be cleared for football activity by May or June. He'll be cleared for contact around probably August. And he got injured in December. I'd say if he misses any, it could be between 4 and 6 games. But he would definitely be ready to go. I'd say he's definitely ready with no restrictions by Halloween, 100%. And actually with Chris Bell, you play the long game here. I don't think the Chiefs front office is necessarily as down on the wide receiver room as the fans are. I think that they see that Rashee Rice is going to be back this year and he's not going to get suspended. I think they feel very comfortable with him. I think they're comfortable with Xavier Worthy. They felt comfortable enough to bring Tyquan Thornton back. I think they're comfortable with Jalen Royals. I don't know who they select that really comes in and maybe and like, look, you're going to pair that again with Travis Kelce. You're going to pair that again with they feel decently comfortable with Noah Gray. You're going to pair it now with Walker, who they paid a lot of money to, is going to get a lot of looks out of the backfield. He's going to get a lot of carries and a lot of in the pass game, I believe. So there's a lot of mouths to feed. I don't know how much a rookie wide receiver actually comes in and plays. Honestly, anyway. Now, coming from a fan perspective, we all feel like there needs to be. But from a team perspective, I don't know. I don't know if they feel like it. So, I mean, we'll see. We will see. But, yeah. Okay, let's roll through here. Let's go back through. See if I missed anything before I jump off here. Oh, let me catch up in the chat. Boom, 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 boom. Did Steve make an appearance? I didn't see him. Yeah, people, the A to Z simulator, I see Mickey and Carl both said that's good. I do like their simulator. They do have a good simulator. If I could get Charles to literally get them to implement you creating your own draft board, that would be sick. That would put that simulator over the top. But I do agree. I think A to Z simulator is edging out PFF for me 100%. What's up, Ozark? How are you doing, brother? Let me see. Super Slapnut says 74 Jacob Rodriguez. Okay, so again, this is a good example. On simulators, yes, he is being available to go at 74. If you take any value to stuff that we're hearing around the league, it's possible he goes in the first round. At the latest, he's a top 50 pick. And when we did our mock draft with 32 GMs, with 32 sports writers from each team, he went in the top 20. He went like number 19. I don't know if I have it on here. I think I took it down, but he went early. It was early for even what I thought. And that's just another example of, like, I didn't think Kenyon Sadiq was on Dallas Cowboys' radar at pick 12, but that's where he went. I didn't think Jacob Rodriguez was on, I want to say it was the Panthers maybe. I didn't think he was on their radar in the mid-first round, but that's where he went. So when we just get lost in these simulators and these rankings, you really, really, really get to the point to where you get a little tricked and you get a little pigeonholed on what you could see. Here's what Steve. He said there's a lot more smoke about the Chiefs taking OT early. Freeling or Lomu, this is the most confusing draft in a long time. Absolutely. I've been saying Freeling is somebody you need to watch at number 9. I don't remember how far I put that back. It was a long time ago I put that out, and somebody just destroyed me for that. And I was hearing things and doing a lot of research early. And I kept getting the feeling that Monroe Freeling was a guy that could be up there. On February the 25th, and I really want you guys to consider this. Like, I want you to consider this. On February the 25th, I'm not even going to bring this in because it's so hard for you guys to see it. It's going to make it really little. But if you go back to our Twitter page, on February the 25th, pre-combine positional draft rankings, I tweeted out that for me, pre-combine, Monroe Freeling was number 4. He wasn't even on most people's list at that point. Maui Noah was 1. Fano, Ihanachour was number 3 for me at that point. He's now fell a little bit. Monroe Freeling was number 4. Caleb Lomu was 5. Proctor was 6. I had Blake Miller at 7 already, and now people are Blake Miller and crazy. Caleb Tiernan at 8. Drew Shelton at 9 and Mil Wagner at 10. Some of those have now changed. But guys, I was trying to put people onto Monroe Freeling on February 25th. That's almost 2 full months ago. Okay? If I could go back, because I do believe it was in YouTube's, it was in a YouTube thing that we did. Let me see if I can find it. It was in a YouTube poll I put up. And I'm going to find this because I've got to find what was said, because it was very snarky, which, man, we get snarkiness constantly. It never fails. Like, everybody's an expert. It's wild. The internet has turned everybody into an expert. Where did I have this? Because I'm talking like I got raked. And I'm telling you right now, it was before. Okay, so I have posted this before the Chiefs re-signed Tyquan Thornton. Before the Chiefs signed Alohi Gilman. We're that far back. We're before free agency kicked off. We're before people were still considering trading up for Jeremiah Love. We're that far back. Okay? We're that far back, ladies and gents. Here it is. This was 1 week before free agency. 1 week before free agency. Chiefs picking at number 9, and these are your options. Who are you taking? Mekhi Lemon, Peter Woods. This is when Peter Woods was still up there as the top 10 pick. He is currently fell. Monroe Freeling, offensive tackle. Or trade back and maybe try to grab Sadiq. That was my 4 options. Monroe Freeling. Chiefs Kingdom, out of 4,000 votes, you guys picked Monroe Freeling dead last at 11%. Then when you look through and read these comments, geez Louise, people were going nuts over the fact that I put Monroe Freeling as a possibility at number 9. Like, I've got to find the right one. And of course, look, he was pretty nasty about it. He may have ended up in the pit. Let's be honest. If he is, I'm not going to be able to show you this, but I remember it plain as day. Let me see. People were talking about Lemon's character issues a lot. It must have been, I don't even know. Oh, here it was. From a guy named Logan, who tried sneaking Monroe Freeling here at number 9. You guys are crazy. We could trade back to 28 and get him. So again, we had somebody, doing the PFF game on us. But anyways, I just wrote and said, hey man, it's based off tackle projection and everything I've heard. Freeling's gaining a lot of steam for us. And then there was one other guy, and I think he got put in the pit. I can't find him. But yeah, he pretty much told us that we were stupid for putting Freeling there. But it is what it is, man. Steve also says he's working hard. I highly doubt that one. Which combo? Sadiq Bell, Sadiq Branch, or Lemon Stowers? That's tough, but I'm going to tell you right now, I would rather have 2 pass catchers. I would honestly take Sadiq and Bell. People would probably freak out about that, but I think at the end of the day, I like Bell better than Branch, and you give me Sadiq, so automatically that option's better than the second option. And then Makai Lemon Stowers. I don't know if I'm still comfortable taking Stowers at 29. I think Chris Bell can do what Stowers can give you, but maybe better. I'm going to take Sadiq, even though people would say 9's too high for him. People might argue Bell's too high at 29, but I think if the injury's good, that's not a bad pick. I would almost take Sadiq and Bell and then just go complete pass rush, corner crazy for the next, like, pick 40, pick 74, pick 109. I would probably, if I could do that draft off the top of my head, off my rankings, I would go Sadiq at 9, Bell at 29, since you pigeonholed me into doing that. At pick 40, I would take the best edge rusher, so I'd probably take Gabe Akis at pick 40. I think at pick 74, I would probably take another. If I could get him, I'd probably take another edge at pick 74 because I don't think you can never have enough of those. But there isn't really one on my board. So at pick 74, I think I would go ahead and take Tradan Stukes. I would put him in the slot. I'd let him play some safety. I think I would take Tradan Stukes there. At pick 109, I think I would go ahead and take the best real corner on the board, which could be, maybe depending on how it falls, it's possible you get Dalen Everett there, but I don't know if I would 100% do Dalen Everett. You could maybe switch those and do Dalen Everett first and then maybe hope, instead of getting Stukes, you could maybe hope Chandler Rivers or Jalen Kilgore fall to that spot. And if all has failed, you've got the third best option there probably, which is Bud Clark out of TCU. So there's plenty of things I would do, but I could start with that and then start working with like a DeMonte Capehart or, dude, I don't know. There's just so many decent guys you could draft down the board that I think could be good. If you wanted to go tight end, you got Justin Jolie. He come in on the top 30, which I didn't put him in the top 30s earlier. Justin Jolie was supposed to be in there, and Oscar Delp was supposed to be in there on those top 30s. And I kind of forgot and glossed right over those two. So I apologize for that, ladies and gents. But there's two more tight ends and two more top 30 visits from those fellas. So, again, I think Jolie would be a day 3 guy, maybe the end of day 2. Oscar Delp, same. I'll say Delp and Jolie. I'll say day 2 guys. With Jolie, maybe could dip into day 3. That's where I'd probably put those guys. So let me go ahead and just throw them in at the right spot up here for me, for my personal thing. Yep, right there. Okay, well, I appreciate you guys being here. I appreciate everybody spending some time with me. Yeah, we do need pass rush as a priority, 100%. But absolutely. Absolutely. But I appreciate you guys being with me. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Sub the channel if you haven't already. We're trying to get to 55K. We are almost right there. We're about to get to 100K soon. Just got to put it out there in the atmosphere. We're getting there. Appreciate every single person that's spending time with me, watching our videos. If you haven't watched our last video, go do that. It was really good. The algorithm is killing us right now. It's crushing us. It's crushing our shorts across the board all of a sudden. Something happened in like the last week where one of our videos got released before YouTube could approve the ad revenue on it. That was the big deal. So last week, if you notice, we didn't have a podcast that come out. It got released because YouTube held up the ad revenue, and it took them over 48 hours to approve that thing. So during the time it accidentally ran for like 3 hours, YouTube got so mad at us for putting that out there before they could approve it, as though we had some kind of like vulgar stuff on it. Like, we're a sports channel. What could we possibly have on there that's not approvable? So anyway, they punished us for it, basically. So they are hiding all of our stuff, all of our shorts, everything. So we may be out of your feed. We may be not. If you're seeing this, go find us. Be sure to hit that sub button. Know that we release a podcast, a full length, every Tuesday at no later than 6 p.m. That's usually when it comes out, sometime between 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. And then we'll do shorts on the daily, man. And then we do, of course, several live streams throughout the week, mainly on Sundays and Thursday nights. So appreciate you guys being here. Love you guys. Thanks for spending time with me, man. We're so close to the draft. It's so awesome. Appreciate you, Carl. Mickey says, I like ACU being a smaller channel selfishly. It's more real. Dude, we're always going to be real, though, because we don't have a group. We're not in a group. We don't have people doing things for us. Like, so we're always the ones that create the content. We edit it. We record it. We put it out. We do everything with it. So we'll never get to a place where we're not going to be authentic. And we won't change. We're never going to put ourselves into buying a team around us that determines what we can say and what we can't. Not ever going to do that. Now, again, you know, we've made this our full-time job. At least I have. Steve's not been able to yet because YouTube don't give you insurance. So he has to have insurance for his children. But other than that, it's a full-time job for me. So yeah, if there's good opportunities, we have to take them. I have to put food on the table. But I'll say this, we try to do things that we think you guys would like. And, you know, we're never going to hit perfectly with that. And people don't love ads and people don't like things like that. But I mean, we got to do it. It's just part of the game, man. It's 2026. It's how it rolls. But yeah, man, I don't think 55,000 is small, to be honest. Maybe it is. I don't know. I thought 55,000 was pretty decent. But anyways, I appreciate you guys. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. We will be back sometime soon at the latest, tomorrow night with a live. So draft's coming up in like a week. Got to get prepared for this. And thank God I'm tired of seeing everybody's mock drafts. You guys have a good one. I appreciate you guys being here. Go Chiefs.